My wife begged me for an open marriage to be with the delivery guy. I agreed and found someone too, but she couldn't handle my dating, and her fling turned into a stalker. By the time the police dragged him out of our house, I had divorce papers ready that I've been married to my wife, Rachel, 34F, for almost 7 years. I'm 36M, an IT consultant, pretty boring by most measures, and until recently, I thought we were solid. We bought a modest house together in the suburbs, 2 dogs, a small circle of friends. We weren't flashy, but we were steady. That's what I valued, consistency. The first red flag, if I'm honest with myself, came months ago when Rachel suddenly became extra invested in our package deliveries. We'd always ordered a lot online, but one day she started lingering by the front window around the time deliveries usually came. If she heard the rumble of a van, she'd perk up like a teenager waiting for her crush. I chalked it up to boredom at first. She works from home as a freelance interior designer, so maybe she just wanted the human interaction. But then I noticed she'd put on makeup before errand days, when nothing else was on her calendar. The first time I actually saw her talking to him, the delivery guy, I brushed it off. He was younger, maybe late 20s, fit, the kind of guy you'd expect to see in a gym ad. He carried a box up our steps, and Rachel practically floated outside to greet him. They laughed, she touched her hair, and for a second, I felt invisible inside my own home. But I told myself, you're being paranoid. She's just friendly. I should have trusted my gut point one night. Rachel sat me down at the kitchen table with a seriousness usually reserved for funerals or medical results. She had that brittle, determined expression like she'd rehearsed this in her head. "We need to talk," she said, her voice calm but too deliberate. "Okay," I braced myself. "What's wrong?" She folded her hands, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "I think we should consider opening our marriage." My brain short-circuited. For a moment, I thought she was joking. We've always been monogamous, and she never expressed interest in anything else. "Why?" was all I managed to get out. She sighed like I was missing something obvious. "I love you. You're my partner, my best friend. But I feel like I haven't fully lived. I've been craving new experiences. I don't want to throw away what we have, but I don't want to feel trapped either." I just stared at her. "So you want to see other people? While we're married? Not just me. You too," she said quickly, as if throwing me a bone. "It could be freeing for both of us." And then she added, too casually, "I've already connected with someone." That's when my stomach dropped that IT was the package delivery guy. I didn't need her to spell it out. The moment hung heavy between us until I finally asked, "It's him, isn't it?" Rachel's silence was confirmation enough. She twisted her wedding ring nervously, then whispered, "His name's Tyler." The world tilted. My wife was in love, or lust, or infatuation, with a guy who brought us Amazon boxes. And now she wanted my blessing. "Rachel, do you hear yourself?" I asked. My voice was steady, but my pulse was racing. She reached across the table, her hand trembling. "I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to lose you. But I can't ignore this part of myself. Please, just think about it. This doesn't mean I love you any less." That was the cruelest line of all. That night, I barely slept. I lay there staring at the ceiling while Rachel breathed steadily beside me. My thoughts spiraled. Was our marriage ever enough for her? Had she been planning this for months, waiting for me to agree so she could legitimize her affair? If I said no, would she leave anyway? At work the next day, I pretended to function, but my head was a fog. I kept replaying her face at the kitchen table, the almost childlike hope in her eyes. She wasn't confessing like someone ashamed. She was pitching it like a business idea. By lunchtime, I realized something. If I flat out refused, I'd be the villain in her story, the controlling husband who stifled her freedom. But if I agreed, maybe I'd see who she really was when faced with the same medicine. That night, I told her calmly, "Okay, if this is what you need, we can try it." But it goes both ways. Her relief was instant. She practically glowed, hugged me like she hadn't in months, and whispered, "Thank you. You won't regret this." But in the pit of my stomach, I already did. Over the next weeks, Rachel was suddenly busy. Coffee runs that stretched into hours, client meetings that didn't match her calendar, glowing smiles when she checked her phone. I didn't confront her. I didn't need to. Tyler was her shiny new toy, and she was intoxicated. I played my part. I smiled. I worked. I kept up appearances. And quietly, I dipped my toes into the world she'd opened. Dating apps, old acquaintances, casual conversations at the gym. I wasn't rushing, but I wasn't sitting still either. At first, Rachel was smugly content. She came home humming, texting under the covers, radiating this liberated energy. She thought she was reinventing herself. But when she realized I was actually following through on my side, when she saw me getting dressed up for dinner, or noticed my phone buzzing with notifications, the cracks appeared. "Who was that?" she asked one night, too casually, when my phone lit up with a message. "Just someone I'm talking to," I replied evenly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. That was the beginning of the unraveling. Hers, not mine. Because Rachel wanted freedom, yes, but she wanted it without consequences. Without realizing that opening a door means it swings both ways. And while she was chasing her fantasy with the delivery guy, I was learning something she didn't expect, that I didn't need her permission to move on. The first month after my wife begged for an open marriage felt like living in someone else's life. She was glowing in ways I hadn't seen in years, not because of me, but because of him, the delivery guy. She practically timed her showers and makeup routine around his route. I'd catch her spritzing perfume an hour before any package was due. When I asked, "Big plans tonight?" she'd say, "Just taking care of myself." But we both knew who it was really for. She spoke constantly about freedom, about love being infinite, and how our bond will evolve, not break. She recited quotes from podcasts, blog posts, even TikToks, polyamory influencers who made it sound like a spiritual awakening. At dinner, she'd lock eyes with me and declare, "This is going to make us stronger, you'll see." But her phone was always face down on the table, buzzing. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was observing, watching her reinvent herself, wondering if she realized how transparent it all looked. One night, while she was working late, I downloaded a dating app. Honestly, at first, it was petty revenge. But as I scrolled through matches, something inside me shifted. These women didn't know me as the boring husband. They thought I was interesting, funny, worth their time. One match in particular, Claire, stood out. She actually listened when I talked, and she laughed at my dry humor. It felt foreign but good. When I casually mentioned to my wife that I had a date lined up, she froze mid-bite. "Oh, really?" she asked, feigning indifference but gripping her fork too tightly. "Yeah," I said. "Saturday. Drinks after work." Her smile was brittle. "Well, good for you." That's what we agreed. But the crack in her voice gave her away. Saturday came. She lingered by the door as I put on my jacket. "You're really going through with this?" she asked. "Of course," I said. "This is what you wanted, right? Freedom." Her lips parted as if to argue, but nothing came out. Claire and I hit it off. Nothing scandalous happened, just genuine connection. For the first time in years, I felt seen. When I got home, humming a tune I hadn't sung in ages, my wife was curled up on the couch, staring at her phone. "Have fun?" she asked bitterly. "Yeah," I replied simply. She hated my calmness more than if I'd shouted. Meanwhile, her romance with the delivery guy wasn't going the way she imagined. At first, he was bold, showing up when I wasn't home, texting constantly, even dropping off packages that weren't ours just to have an excuse to ring the doorbell. She lit up like a teenager every time he appeared. But then reality hit. She wasn't leaving me for him. She wasn't giving him the commitment he wanted. And he didn't like that. His texts grew angrier. "Stop wasting my time. You're all talk. When are you going to prove you mean it?" One night, I came home to find her whispering into her phone, voice trembling. "Please, just calm down. I can't talk right now. Stop calling me." She jumped when she saw me. "He's just upset. I'll handle it." I raised an eyebrow. "Handle it? Sounds like he's handling you." Her face went pale. The shift in our house was immediate. Suddenly, she wasn't bragging about freedom anymore. She started questioning me instead. Who is she? How old is she? Do you like her more than me? The jealousy she thought she'd buried came roaring back, and it ate her alive. At dinner, she pushed her food around and muttered, "It's different for you." "How?" I asked. "Because I actually love you. You're just playing games." I set down my fork. "You begged for this. You wanted open doors. Don't look surprised when I walk through mine." Her eyes welled up, but I felt nothing. No guilt. No pity. Just clarity. The delivery guy wasn't done, though. He started leaving packages at odd hours, 1 a.m., 5 a.m., like he wanted me to notice. Once, he even honked outside and sped off when I came to the window. My wife called him a psycho, but I could tell she was terrified. And me? I was strangely calm. For the first time in years, I wasn't the needy one. I wasn't the boring husband begging for scraps of attention. I had options too. Real options. One night, after another fight, she asked through tears, "What if we just stop this? Go back to normal?" I looked at her and said, "There is no normal anymore. You killed it the day you begged for open doors." She flinched like I'd struck her. Lying in bed that night, I realized something. She had begged for freedom, but what she really wanted was control, permission to have her cake and eat it too, while I stayed loyal in the background. And now that I wasn't playing my part, she was unraveling. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of losing her. She should have been afraid of losing me. Update 1. It's been about 6 weeks since I first agreed to my wife's request for an open marriage, and I've realized something very important. You don't really know someone until you give them exactly what they ask for. She asked for freedom. She begged for exploration. She demanded the right to chase new energy. And now she's drowning in it. The delivery guy, let's just call him Jake, went from being her fantasy fling to her biggest problem. In the beginning, he was charming. He played into her daydreams, sent her flirty texts, made her feel like she was in some forbidden romance novel. But when reality hit, when she made it clear she wasn't leaving me, he flipped. The text got darker. "If you don't tell him, I will. You think you can use me? You owe me. I know where you live. Don't play games." At first, she tried to hide it. She'd silence her phone, sneak off to the bathroom, come back with fake smiles. But one night, around 1 a.m., his car pulled up outside our house. Headlights cutting across the blinds. Horn blaring twice. Then silence. She was shaking so hard, she dropped her phone. I just stood there, arms crossed. "This is the freedom you wanted, right?" She burst into tears, whispering, "I didn't know it would be like this." And that's when it hit me. She wanted all the fun of an open marriage, but none of the consequences. She thought she could flirt, fool around, play at being desired, and still come home to me, safe, stable, loyal. She wanted her fairy tale, but real life doesn't bend that way. Meanwhile, my own exploring was nothing like hers. I wasn't chasing danger. I wasn't sneaking around like a teenager. I was building something new. Claire, the woman I met on the dating app, had become a steady presence in my life. She didn't demand, didn't play games, didn't sneer at my job or my stability. She liked me for the simple things, my dry humor, my ability to listen, the way I showed up when I said I would. One night, after dinner with Claire, I came home humming again. My wife was waiting in the dark. "Who is she?" she asked flatly. "Her name's Claire," I said. "What does she have that I don't?" I looked her in the eye. "Peace." She looked like I'd stabbed her. But I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I just told the truth. The fallout has been brutal. For her, not for me. She thought she could control the game. She thought I'd sit in the background while she explored. But the second I started living by the same rules, she crumbled. Her jealousy turned into paranoia. She accused me of lying, of cheating beyond the rules she had set. Rules that, apparently, only applied to me. She demanded details about Claire, about our dates, about whether I touched her. When I refused to feed her obsession, she screamed, threw things, sobbed on the kitchen floor. And Jake, he didn't go away. He escalated. He left packages with no labels at the door, random junk just to remind her he was still there. He texted her screenshots of our address from Google Maps. Once, he even slipped a note under the doormat. "If I can't have you, he won't either." She begged me to call the cops. But I just said, "He's your problem, not mine." The irony? The man she threw our marriage away for was now the one haunting her. And the man she dismissed as boring and safe was the one sleeping peacefully at night. I won't lie, part of me enjoyed the justice in it. But another part of me had already moved on. Claire knew about the open marriage situation. She didn't love it, but she respected my honesty. And the more I spent time with her, the clearer it became. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about rediscovering myself, finding someone who actually valued me instead of treating me like a backup plan. The turning point came 2 weeks ago. My wife cornered me in the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. "Please, can we stop this? Can we go back to how we were?" she begged. I looked at her calmly. "Back to what? You mean back to me paying for everything while you fantasized about someone else? Back to me watching you glow every time another man texted you? Back to being your doormat?" She shook her head furiously. "No, I mean, back to just us. Forget this ever happened." I laughed bitterly. You can't unring a bell. And you sure as hell can't UNF, the delivery guy. She slapped me then. Hard. And in that moment, I knew something had broken beyond repair. She spends most nights in the guest room now. The house is filled with silence, broken only by the occasional ping of her phone and the soft hum of my own new happiness when I talk to Claire. I don't know what the future holds. Divorce papers? Probably. But I'm not afraid anymore. Because the truth is, I didn't lose a wife. I lost a cage. And she? She lost the one man who actually stood by her, who would have weathered storms for her, until she invited one into our home. Now she's left with the wreckage, a psycho delivery guy, fading friends who don't want drama, and the echo of her own choices. Me? I'm free. And for the first time in a long time, I actually like the man in the mirror. Final update. It's been 3 more months since my last update, and I can say this, the storm finally passed. But the wreckage it left behind is something I'll be stepping over for a long time. The delivery guy, Jake, went from being a nuisance to a legitimate threat. It started with petty harassment, texts, late-night drive-bys, the occasional note. But then it escalated. One night, around midnight, my wife's car alarm blared. We rushed outside, and there he was, hood up, tools in hand, trying to rip out her battery. He bolted when he saw me, but the damage was already done. The cops were called, a report filed, and suddenly the thrill of her affair wasn't so romantic anymore. She was terrified. She begged me not to leave her alone in the house. She clung to me like I was her lifeline. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd thrown me aside for her fantasy, and now she wanted me to protect her from it. But I wasn't her husband anymore. Not in my heart. Not in my plans. I stayed only because I needed to protect myself legally, to document everything, to ensure when divorce came, and I knew it was inevitable, the judge would see the full picture. So I played it calm, rational. I installed cameras on the property. I logged every incident. I saved screenshots of every threatening message Jake sent her. She cried while I cataloged her mess like a clerk filing paperwork. Meanwhile, Claire became my anchor. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't chaos. She was steady, thoughtful, and most importantly, she respected boundaries. The more I leaned into that, the more I realized I had been starving for peace my entire marriage. With my wife, there was always some emotional landmine waiting to blow. With Claire, there was space to breathe. The breaking point came 2 months ago. My wife showed up at my work, something she had never done before. Makeup streaked, hair a mess, trembling like she'd seen a ghost. She grabbed my arm and hissed, "He's inside the house." I didn't believe her at first, but when we drove back, sure enough, the back door had been forced open. Jake was inside, sitting on our couch like he lived there. A beer in his hand, his shoes kicked off. I called the police. He didn't even flinch when they arrived, just smirked and said, "She invited me. She told me this was ours." Watching her face crumble when he said that was surreal. Because in a way, it was true. She had invited him in. Maybe not literally, but by opening the door to chaos, she had welcomed all of this into our lives. Jake was arrested for trespassing and vandalism. She spent the next week jumping at every sound. And I spent it filling out divorce paperwork. When I slid the papers across the table, she broke. "You can't do this. Please. We can fix it. I'll do anything." I looked at her, and for the first time in years, I felt nothing. Not love, not anger, just emptiness. "I already did everything," I told her. "And you threw it away." She sobbed, clutched at me, begged like a child. But I was done. My hands were steady when I signed. The divorce is still processing, but the temporary orders are clear. I keep the house. She moved back in with her mother. And from what I hear, Jake is facing charges that could put him away for a while. Sometimes I think about the night she first asked for an open marriage. The way her eyes lit up like she was asking for a trip to Paris, not detonating the life we had built. She thought she was opening a door to excitement. Instead, she opened a door to her own undoing. And me? I walked through a different door. One that led out of chaos into peace. Claire hasn't pressured me. She knows I need space to heal, to recalibrate. She's patient in a way my wife never was. She doesn't demand proof of love through diamonds or grand gestures. She's content with honesty, with time, with presence. It feels strange, almost foreign, to be with someone who doesn't measure affection in fireworks, but in steadiness. Do I regret any of it? That's complicated. I regret wasting so many years on someone who saw me as safe, Until safe wasn't exciting enough. But I don't regret how I handled the end. I stayed calm. I gathered proof. I didn't let rage dictate my choices. I walked out with my dignity intact. And here's the hard truth. She's not a monster. She's not evil. She's selfish, yes. Reckless. Naive. But at the end of the day, she's just a flawed human who mistook novelty for happiness. And I was the collateral damage. The fallout still stings. I see the pity in some of our mutual friends' eyes. I hear the whispers about how I lost my wife to a delivery guy. But the ones who matter? They know the truth. And more importantly, I know the truth. I didn't lose her. She lost me. The nights are quiet now. The house feels bigger, lighter. Sometimes I catch myself humming while I cook, something I hadn't done in years. There's no phone buzzing with secret texts. No late-night arguments about boundaries she never respected. Just peace. And maybe that's the lesson here. Love isn't about chasing constant highs. It isn't about new energy or fairy tale flings. It's about choosing stability, respect, and trust over and over again. She never understood that, but I do now. So when people ask me if I'll ever forgive her, I say this. I don't need to forgive her. I just need to live better without her. And that's exactly what I'm doing.